Welcome to all sins and commandments alike. This is Griever, your guys' host as always, bringing you guys the latest episode review of Wrath of the Gods. Okay, so this time I'm going to go in this episode format a little bit different. There was a lot of key points that I wanted to talk about. Not too many changes from the manga. I don't remember the Gil, Thunder, Hauser confrontation fight. That might have happened in a different type of conversation, and that's why I don't really remember it. So maybe that's manga only. It kind of feels like it is. But that being said, if it is or it isn't, I didn't really have a whole lot of time to reread the manga and double check that, right? But there was a lot of key points to go over, and I wanted to discuss each one. So instead this time I saved a bunch of screenshots, and I'll just be going through them just for a little reminder notice for me. So just so I keep everything and I don't miss any good points, because there were some things I was kind of like meh, some things I was like yeah. So either way, let's just get it right off the bat. The score in this episode in particular was at least a little bit better than a lot of the other episodes in this season. The very orchestral, opera-sounding music tone, that kind of something menacing is going down, but it could be epic, but it's also menacing at the same time. It might be a good thing. We kind of know this is leading towards a war sort of music that's going on during the Ludoshel and Elizabeth conversation. That was really nice. I really like that. And then, of course, the way this episode ended with one of the themes. Not my favorite theme, but it was a nice touch. Animation-wise, once again, this one had nothing necessarily super wrong with it. Some of the animation was actually quite good. As far as the standard for this episode, for this season, it was actually a bit of a cut above the rest. Kind of odd, honestly, to have as good a quality animation for basically a very heavy, plot-centric, dialogue-centric episode, right? So, either way, let's get underway with this one, because also, let's promote, not paid, but promote Tim Hortons, Canadian and all that. So the beginning of this episode, we leave off at the end of the last one. We had Zeldris being attacked, if you recall, when Merlin and him were making the deal. And we have basically Zeldris' retaliation towards that like little castle in the sky sort of idea, right? Now, this, to me, feels a little different from the manga. Once again, I have not reread this part of the manga in a very, very long time. Probably since I was reviewing it. So it's been a long time. Maybe this didn't happen, but this also begs the question for not just how did they escape, but a very key question that comes up now for manga spoiler only. So we won't really bring that up here, but I think if you guys have read the manga, you know what I'm referring to. There was a certain, there's somebody there, and if this blast took Ludoshel by surprise and engulfed the whole place and destroyed it, still kind of wondering about that. Anyways, that might be a little too spoiler-esque. So, what we have here is, Dreyfus and everybody, yelling to try to protect Margaret or Ludoshel or whoever. Gil Thunder's trying, Dreyfus is trying, Hendrickson is trying, everyone's trying to shield him. And then the whole blast, this whole chasm comes down when Zeldris realizes the Archangels, they're alive. Well, friggin', I'm going to launch this crazy attack. Now that I remember the name of the attack, I think it's Dies Iris or something like that. That sounds familiar. Like, I think I've read that before. So maybe this attack did happen. Maybe it just didn't happen in the same way or the same reaction. But either way, that did happen. And that's basically, we leave that for a little while. We actually leave that. So we jump back over to the castle, the Camelot Castle, and we see Chandler getting drunk, and I'm like, I love Chandler. Chandler's great. And his green, I wasn't a huge fan of his transformed pacifier demon as like color palette, but I really do, actually, the green has grown on me. I really do enjoy his color palette and stuff, and Chandler's just a fun character. So, and animated, he's even more fun, so I'm really enjoying Chandler. And here's where this is a little different from the manga, but it's actually makes a little more sense. Meliodas is yelling for Elizabeth and is like, okay, I gotta find her. And Chandler overhears this and goes, well, if Elizabeth is gone, I'll, like, punch off my cheeks, like, creates these little demon bat things that clearly aren't very strong, but he thinks are strong enough, even though, like, is he underestimating Elizabeth a little bit? Elizabeth just arced the shit out of Meliodas in demon mode. I mean, caught unawares, sure, but these little bad things in this episode get stomped and trashed by Deanne with 1 foot. So how did I mean, not saying that they couldn't have done the job by a sneak attack. Maybe that was his plan, stab her in the back sort of idea, caught unawares. But either way, he sends these things after Elizabeth because he wants Elizabeth gone and done, just out of here. During this whole exchange, of course, Merlin brings up the fact that, yes, Zeldris right now is preoccupied with the Archangel's blast and stuff. So clearly, Merlin doesn't really say anything in this episode, that or I missed it, where she clearly knew about the awakening of the Archangel. She either sensed it or knew about it or something. That's why she brought them up in the sky, and she kind of dilly-dallied because she knew she could get out of this. Now, she made sure that Zeldris held up his end of the bargain first. She did not hand over the other commandment that she has. I forget. She's got Melisukla still. She's got Meliskila, or whatever they call her. She still has her commandment. Grey Road was taken by Meliodas. Now, that being said, she also says, well, we got to get the people, the Holy Knights, Leonis, everyone affected by piety, some Camelot citizens. I don't know if that's stated, but some of the citizens of Camelot that were also in the spell. Everybody that's basically running around the capital of Camelot right now, they need to warp out of here. They need to get them over to the kingdom of Leonis. So everybody's working really hard to kind of bunch them all together and start, teleporting them away back to Leonis, where Leonis is aware, Bartra is there and wakes up and is like, okay, this is happening. All right, well, they did it. They successfully saved all the hostages and all that stuff. We have nice reuniting scenes, things like that. As Merlin states, we got to do this now before the demons start attacking, when Zeldris realizes he's kind of been double-crossed. That's not going to go out so well, right? We already talked about Deanne basically stomping on the thing that is attacking Elizabeth. Elizabeth, of course, she ran out of the castle pretty quick, and now she's run into Deanne. She's like, Deanne, perfect, because they went to the capital of Camelot. This makes a lot of sense. Sorry, guys, I think I'm coming down with something, so I keep drinking, this one's a French vanilla, but I keep drinking some hot drinks to kind of soothe my throat here. But suffice to say, here is key one. Now, this is not an anime-only thing, but cut bangs. For those of you who have been following my YouTube channel for a while, those who have spoken to me in my Discord, anybody who basically knows my opinions in any stretch, know I've got a few stretches. I don't think One Punch Man is the be-all and end-all. I think Garp could have killed Akainu at Marineford. I think that Fairy Tail is not that bad, and it was actually a very enjoyable ride up for the first, half of the series. And one of the other things is cut bangs. They are awful on every woman in existence. They've never looked good in real life. They've never looked good in anime. And even if you can produce such a thing, even if you can show me how is this not attractive, like this is a very nice looking woman and all that stuff, and she can pull it off. Just because a woman can pull off a look does not mean that she can't look more attractive in another look. As you guys know, I'm a fan of, for those of you who have been following, I'm a fan of glasses as well. My wife used to wear glasses. She got LASIK surgery, and I was kind of bummed out by that. She gave me a gag gift for Christmas in reference to that. Kind of funny. But point is that just because a woman is still beautiful and love of your life and stuff does not mean that certain hairstyles, certain looks, certain makeup, certain clothes, you don't find them more attractive than usual. Other than what would be the point of guys wearing suits and women getting dolled up? It just would not make any sense if that were the case, if that wasn't a true fact. And cut bangs is one of those things. Cut bangs look goddamn awful. And this is where Elizabeth gets her bangs cut, and if she gets her forehead slashed, I'm surprised they showed it, the blood and everything. She heals herself right away. But now, and Deanne stomps on the Chandler little bat thing. But now she has this cut bangs look. And I'm going to be honest with you. It's a little spoilery, but she does not grow her hair back or change it at all at the current point in the manga, which is about almost, we're at the 350 chapter mark, or 342, 343 right now. So, if you don't like this look now, too bad. Tough tits. No, I really hate it. I can't stand it, and it's hard for me to, Anyways, that's just a bit of a nitpick side note. That's not an anime thing. That's a manga thing. That's a character design thing. And it's just like, why did you do that to Elizabeth? A lot of people don't like Elizabeth. I kind of like Elizabeth, especially Goddess Elizabeth. I like this character. I find she's interesting, especially with the whole, there's over 100 of them reincarnated and stuff. It's pretty good. Like, I'm good with her character. I like her English dub. I like her Japanese. But they ruined her character design for me. That being said, after this, we jump into the Boar's Hat. Everyone's taken off. They've teleported away from Camelot before the demons start attacking. Meliodas, Chandler, Cusack, they're all there, so it's probably time to peace out. Now, here's where Deanne is basically crying and stuff. This is a tender moment. I really like this. It was done well in the manga. It's done pretty well here in the anime because it didn't really screw up the animation too bad. Where Deanne basically cries about the fact that, like, Meliodas, we got to prevent him being Demon King, but Deanne kind of has reservations about that, basically saying that, yeah, but Meliodas is doing this because it's the way to save Elizabeth, and she's conflicted about this. Of course, because remember that she's the one who kept saying, we can get your memory back and stuff, so she feels probably quite guilty about basically being the one to push her to remember, not knowing it was basically signing her death warrant. It's not really brought up this episode, but it's very basic there. I remember talking about that when this chapter came out and we had this type of conversation, and I was just like, that's what it is. Deanne is actually very upset with herself, even though she won't say it quite yet, and it's just kind of like, yeah, you can kind of get that feeling from this, because now Elizabeth is going to die. Plus, is Meliodas being the Demon King so bad if it's to save Elizabeth? It's a noble cause. Like, maybe they can figure out how to fix it after we save Elizabeth? I mean, like, that just makes a lot of sense to me. And Deanne is clearly very heartbroken here. She starts crying. Elizabeth hugs her and basically tells her, could all of you, like, remember to be my friend again? Don't worry, after I die, I'm just going to reincarnate. Once I die, and I do, please find me again, and please become my friend once again. And that's really sad, because it's not as simple as reincarnating. She's got her memories. Once they give her her memories back of her previous days as Princess Leonis and the Goddess Elizabeth, then she will basically have 3 days left to live again. So they are basically going to go through the same cycle that Meliodas has done for over 100 Elizabeths. And that's still very sad and tear-jerking. Even it's like, it's kind of a way out. It's like having Dragon Balls in the series. You can't die. You'll always come back. It's like, yeah, but there's some thorns in that, that's not a nice, pretty bush, going around there. That's, a nice field of roses and stuff. You're crawling underneath the roses where it's all thorns sort of idea. So, yeah, I just find it was actually a pretty good scene. I really like that. Then we have, of course, they saved all the hostages, so they welcomed the 7 Deadly Sins. Where did Bond go again? I'm kind of missing that little... Oh yeah, Bond went to Purgatory. I completely forgot about that. Bond went to Purgatory, so Bond, of course, is not around. Go-Through is recovering, and Meliodas is, of course, leading right now his brothers. He's leading the Demon Clan. So there's a severe lack of 7 Deadly Sins showing up here at this kind of award ceremony, sort of like welcoming banquet home, the 7 Deadly Sins, the saviors, sort of idea. They're taking their small victory. This is where Ludoshel shows up with Hendrickson and everybody and the other 2 archangels. They're all fine and good. They start praising the archangels and stuff like that, and they agree to join, if you remember, Stigma. King and Deanne clearly remember Stigma. Ironic name for this alliance, but Stigma is basically here to form an alliance and basically use the power of the humans and the 7 Deadly Sins and everyone to combat the demons to restart the Holy War. It's time. Meliodas looks on to see Elizabeth being basically become the new captain of the 7 Deadly Sins in Meliodas' absence. They argue a little bit, but in the end, Elizabeth kind of falters. Not falters, just agrees that right now they can't do very much with their power. With Escanor basically at a commission with Chandler around, and Bond gone to Purgatory, no Meliodas, and Merlin basically, the cheat code of the 7 Deadly Sins being reduced to, well, we have a better one on the Demon Clan side who actually deserves to be able to do that. They don't really have any hope of winning. They basically need the 3 out of 4 Archangels, and the 4th one is brought up this episode as well. They really need that power right now. So she makes her statements clear, is that they will not be there to take Meliodas' life. They will not be there to do anything of the sort. They are only here to save the kingdom and save Meliodas from himself. Now, of course, Ludoshel and them, of course, they have probably 30 hidden agendas and all that stuff. They talk about Margaret's body possession and how wrong that kind of is. But everyone just kind of accepts it. They join hands or swords or beams of light or whatever, and they have made an alliance with Stigma. Now, this is where, after all that fun jazz, we jump over to a few different characters. We jump over to Dreyfus with Griever, and him basically, Dreyfus hasn't trusted Ludoshel once body possession happened. Remember, the man who knows all about body possession. I'm kind of, like, once again, I hate the fact that Dreyfus cut his hair into Friar Tuck again. He looks so much more badass with the long hair. But Dreyfus is a character that I really wish was in the series more. I really miss the days of Hendrickson and Dreyfus being key elements in the story, because I really like their characters. And I love Dreyfus's insight here, basically going, actually, the goddesses massacred and murdered a bunch of demons. And I know I'm not supposed to side with the demons here, and he's just confiding in Griever, but it's the same damn feeling that we get when we lose loved ones. And I shared that, like, memories and emotions with that, that demon for over 10 years. It's like, so I know what that feels like. That wasn't muddled in between. I understand his hatred towards them, because human beings, we would do the same. We do it to ourselves with different, like, kingdoms, like in today's society. And in that, if there was no fairies, no giants, if there was only humans, the kingdoms would fight, right? Leonis and Camelot, and they would fight Eastern powers and Western powers and Southern powers and all from the Dark Continent and stuff. That would be the thing. Humans would infight, and that level of hatred would still be there. This one's based off of ignorance and a lot of racism, of course, between the demons and the goddesses, and stigma, go figure. But in this case, Dreyfus is giving us a lot of insight, and he also says, from his memories, he's remembering the breath of bliss. It's not fully named here, at least it wasn't subtitle named when it was used in this episode, but it's simply not only body possession, but they can also basically brainwash you. That's something that the Supreme Deity gave, or the Demon King, I forget which one, basically allowed Merlin to not be subject to. So, okay, fine dandy. But Dreyfus is not trusting anything at all. Hendrickson is basically now a cult follower. And Dreyfus is just like, yeah, no, I don't trust this at all. This is not right, sort of idea. And he's having a few drinks with Griever, and that's the end of that. I really like that scene. It was really insightful, because that basically knocked off, without having to go in too deep or do a big, long explanation or whatever. They basically got information that we as anime-only viewers definitely need. But to progress the story along, have this quick scene with a fan-favorite character, and just have him basically dump a few things and say Fraudron's memory. It works, and it's not an ass pull or anything. It works. Why he would know this information. It's vague enough that it's not too detailed. We're kind of like, oh, really? Did Fraudron know that stuff? But it works to progress the story along quite nicely. As I said, after this, the scene that I'm not 100% sure happened in the manga or not, either way, or if it happened differently, either way, it's Hauser and Gilthunder are fighting. Gilthunder doesn't accept the fact that Hauser has decided to work with the... right now, Hauser's the leader of the Holy Knights, I believe, in Gilthunder's absence and stuff. Dreyfus and Hendrickson have not taken command, so it's Hauser. I forget if we saw that in this season or not. It was in the manga. Pretty sure it's already happened. It might have happened season 2. I forget. Either way, Hauser's basically the de facto leader of the Holy Knights. Maybe that hasn't happened yet, but it was supposed to. Anyways, I kind of forget between manga and, anime. So, either way, apparently, I guess this makes sense, but it was kind of like, this is why I'm not convinced that this happened in the manga. It might have, but like, Gilthunder's blaming Hauser for joining league with the Archangels, and I'm like, actually, that was kind of Elizabeth's decision, and everybody saw the big beams of light saying, yeah, like, Leonis is joining along with the Seven Deadly Sins. You could argue that she's the captain of the Seven Deadly Sins, and she just basically said Seven Deadly Sins and Stigma will form an alliance. But, I mean, it was kind of like, de facto, you're joining as well sort of idea, kind of like the United Nations go to war. Representative of the United Nations speaks for more than just one country. The United Nations, hence the title, is a bunch of countries. So, kind of obligated, right? So anyways, they fight about this and stuff, and Gilthunder speaks about his reservations regarding that. Hauser continues to, beat him down a little bit, but then state, just because I agreed to this does not mean I fully trust them. We will get Margaret back. I will not kill your hero, Meliodas, just because he's a demon. I know that things aren't necessarily as they seem. We're all good, and they have a kind of a bro moment. So that's really nice and stuff. We also then get the final, basically, scene, or the second to last scene, which includes the Breath of Bliss and speaking about the fourth Archangel. Hendrickson asks about the fourth Archangel, and the Archangels look very pissed off when he's asked about this. After the rest of the scene, they basically say that Esterosa was the one who killed Mile, the fourth Archangel, who is already passed. He's already dead. So they're the four Archangels, but there's only 3 of them alive. Okay. So that's some key information. Now, here's where Death Pierce. Do you guys remember Death Pierce? Do you remember the Paladins of Azure Sky? Do you guys remember them? The Knights of Azure Sky. They show up, very powerful holy knights, and they were working under Denzel, who, as we know, had, let's go off the checklist. Demon-possessed bodies. That was bad, Season 1. Goddess-possessed body, Season 2. Yeah, that ended bad, too. So, now here in Season 3... Death Pierce and his, now the de facto leader with Denzel dead from Derriere, showing up and basically saying, so we don't trust you guys at all. The Goddess clan took over, like, our master's body and, for a get out of jail free card, and that thing got him killed. We don't trust you guys. You guys aren't compassionate, all this stuff. I love this in the manga. I loved it in the anime. I hated the end result because it appears as though they are kind of willing to trust them before, just because Ludishell, friggin' Hitler 2.0 of the Goddess Clan, the Dictator 101, genocidal maniac, decides, oh, I'm going to put on a show of tears. And that's going to convince everybody. Now, don't get me wrong. That was basically kind of getting them to waver, and then he used the Breath of Bliss, or Margaret, whatever, used the Breath of Bliss to basically brainwash them, take over their hearts, make them feel invincible and such, right? And I'm like, I'm pretty sure it was the Breath of Bliss anyways. I'm pretty confident in that. Once again, did not reread the chapters, and the subtitles were kind of meh when it came to attack names and stuff. So, might not have been, I'm pretty sure it is, especially where Dreyfus brings up the brainwashing. Then Death Pierce and everyone's like, we will work together with you. We will defend, and take revenge for our loved ones. And we will win this holy war. We are glad to be in an alliance. I really wanted... I don't know what I expected from this alliance or stuff. Maybe they should have moved the plot along more. But both the manga and the anime, once again, it's not really the anime's fault, but the manga, this was a key point that I thought could have been worked more. Like, I really wanted Death Pierce and them to walk away from this, and maybe Dreyfus. Maybe there's this section of Holy Knights. Gilthunder, Dreyfus, the Knights of Azure Sky, they all kind of decide to form, like they'll work with them, but they don't trust them. They won't take the enchantments. They won't take the enhancements from the goddesses, and they deny it and be like, no, I don't want any aid from you. We will assist you in this war, but we will be fighting on our own terms. That kind of idea. Sort of like a faction. Sort of like, when you bring a bunch of different people to the war table, you have the war table, but you have like 3 countries there. They're allied factions, but, Canada doesn't tell the U.S. what to do, the U.S. doesn't tell Britain what to do, and, Britain doesn't tell France what, that kind of idea, right? You have a few countries at the war table, but not one country. They decide on a plan together, but they decide how they're going to handle their own men. that kind of idea, right? So I don't know. I just felt like this was an opportunity to see some better development and stuff. I know that this was supposed to showcase the brainwashing and how easy it is to be infected by the goddesses, but I just really like the idea of Henriksen and Dreyfus at odds once again, kind of a callback to season 1, and seeing them on opposite sides with no brainwashing. Henriksen has not been brainwashed. He's a druid, he's a devout follower of the goddesses, and he thinks like, Jesus has come to life sort of idea in his eyes, right? Like, Michael and the Gabriel and all them from the Bible have come down sort of idea, and he is there to, assist them and, follow their every word. They're the goddesses, just follow their word. So I just think that there was a way better way to do this, a better direction for the story. But yeah, it is what it is. It happened and such. This is going to be a really long review, but it makes up for my short-ass reviews for the last couple episodes. So that all happens. Of course, that Pierce got really pissed off and all that stuff. The last scene is Elizabeth and Bartra meeting under the tree that back from season 1 when they explained like Bartra fell out of a tree trying to get Elizabeth down from this big tree and hurt himself, and that's when I guess the eye changed and stuff, and Elizabeth purposely when they found out her eye was different, that's when she awoken her powers the first time to heal Bartra when he fell out of the tree. That's when she started covering her eye, because it looked different, and she realized that she might not be fully blood related, and she didn't want to be different from her sisters and her father, so she continued to just grow her hair and cover her eye and stuff, and now she doesn't need to anymore. And I'm like, yeah, but the cut bangs, just no. So this is kind of a pretty tender moment actually, because we have Bartra now understands all about the curse. Bartra understands all about Elizabeth and who she is and everything, and Elizabeth basically, she's still Princess of Leonis as well. She might be all the other ones, but she still lived that life. So here, for when she explains everything, it's kind of a really tender moment. It's done very well. I'm actually looking forward to the English dub. If they do the English dub, it'll be really nice to hear those voice actors do this scene, because I find that Elizabeth, English dub voice actor, does a very good emotional voice whenever Elizabeth is crying. It kind of gets something up in me. Hate it or love it, she does a very good job at at bringing the emotion to the scenes that require it. So I'm really looking forward to that, because this is a really tender moment with the music and everything, and basically her pleading to ask Bartra, I might not have been a great daughter and stuff, and I might not, have been your daughter this whole time. I might be a different person right now, but please allow me to be your daughter for the last 2 days, where I live, sort of idea. I just want to be your daughter for 2 more days. And I was like, oh man, that line alone tugs at the heartstrings. That's really nice. That's really good. I felt like they should have done some really artistic, sketch lines, some really nice wide shot panels of this. Once again, this is where some budget might have been a little better to place, because this was a really tender moment, but it is what it is. I still thought it was done fairly well for this poorly animated season. They didn't butcher it or anything, so that's kind of nice. And just the whole idea, and actually it brings up an interesting point about Bartra's involvement here. He even says he curses fate in this episode. He curses it, kind of how could fate, all you guys want to do is love each other and all this stuff. He knows all about the curses. He knows who has done it. I'm amazed. I mean, of course, maybe Bartra doesn't have the sway like the Archangels, and they know they have a war to fight. But in Bartra's position, I'm surprised that Elizabeth didn't have to hold him back from saying, we are not joining those goddesses. They are getting the hell out of my kingdom. They are the reason that your supreme mother, the supreme deity, she caused this, because in this, we're not going to talk about all the inconsistencies and retcons with this, but in this episode it's stated that, the supreme deity gave the curse of constant reincarnation, or whatever, they call it something else, perpetual reincarnation. That curse was given by her mother to Elizabeth to punish her daughter, and now it's been 3,000 years, and fate won't let up. And Bartra is just sick and tired of it, and he's just kind of like, how could they be so cruel? All you're trying to do is, love each other. This is just awful, sort of idea, right? And I'm surprised Bartra is going along with this whole stigma thing. He'd be like, nope, Leonis is not participating. you guys are going to kill my daughter because of your goddamn religion and your gods and this shit. I'm not having anything to do with this. I want my daughter back. You take that curse away from her, we will help you. You know, I'm surprised that he's not going ballistic right now. Like, after being upset, I'm surprised he's not walking up to Margaret and just staring her down and being like, you know, just like, Bartra's not necessarily the badass old man of Taizai, you know, he's not Yamamoto, he's not Master Roshi, he's not that kind of character, the badass old man, but, I mean, I was really expecting something from Bartra here. Like, the scene was great, but I'm just surprised, like, he didn't want, like, confide in Elizabeth. That's what he wants to do, and Elizabeth had to talk him out of it. I would have liked that, or a confrontation between Ludoshel and Bartra, where Bartra goes, like tries to use the breath of bliss on him, and it is like, that won't affect me because of my rage, you know, sort of idea towards you and your clan. Like, but I know to end the cycle of hatred, like, have him be the better man and be like, your whole thing is stigma. It is an appropriate name for genocidal cowards, an ignorant clan like yours, sort of idea, and just talk trash, just talk smack to him, totally flex on Ludoshel, and basically be like, you know, I've done this because I'm the bigger man, sort of idea, but your breath of bliss can't work on me because my rage towards you and your clan right now, but I know we need to end this cycle of hatred, so I will take no action against you. However, don't for 1 minute think that I, you know, trust you, or, like, if I had it my way, you'd all be out of my kingdom tonight, you know, sort of idea. I just really wish that we had something like that. It didn't happen in the manga. It didn't happen here. But who knows? Maybe we will get a filler scene in the next episode or something. That is where anime can make it done better. That is what anime is supposed to do. This is not an OVA. This is not an OVA. Animes nowadays have gone a little too OVA side. Animes are supposed to do something. For better or for worse, they sometimes change shit up. And, once again, for better or for worse. But, you know, this is your opportunity, Wrath of the Gods. So, anyway, this episode review was probably like half an hour or something stupid. Holy crap. But there was a lot to go down. There was a lot to talk about. This episode really excited me, guys. So, I'm sorry that this took so long. But, so... Anyways, before we get into the 40-minute mark, let's just say like, comment, and subscribe. Really enjoyed this episode. One of my favorite episodes of the season because it just had a lot of content. It was done very well. There was a lot of good scenes. You know, whether you praise the manga for that or the anime, either way, I just really enjoyed it. I really thought it was good. I watched it twice. So, anyways, so like, comment, subscribe, as I already said. Don't forget Discord link is in the box down below. This has been Griever with your not behind the bar reviews, but just a simple episode review of Wrath of the Gods, episode 19. Drink responsibly. I guess I am. Go drink some Tim Hortons. All right. See you next time.